Now at 4, the coronavirus claims the life of a school resource officer and former deputy. How he's being remembered by people all over North Carolina. Plus,
many viewers reached out to us to complain that some healthcare workers here at Wake Med were not getting certain personal protective equipment due to rationing. Find out how Wake Med changed its policy.
Courts here in Cumberland County and across the state are closed, but that doesn't mean that justice is not being served.
Our staff is still working daily, either from home or many of them are in the office each day.
So what will happen to the court system once it's reopened?
The Triangle's #1 source for news. This is WRAL, coverage you can count on.
right now at 4, a Wilkes County woman is the 12th person to die from COVID-19 in North Carolina. Today we have 1,627 cases in our state. A week ago, we had 592. Meanwhile, in Florida, the governor pressured to issue a statewide stay-at-home order. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Gerald Owens.
And I'm Deborah Morgan. Catherine Brown will join us in a moment. Coronavirus has claimed the life of a beloved school resource officer in Montgomery County. The sheriff says Bud Fong died last night, 2 days after testing positive for COVID-19. WRAL's Brian Mims reports tributes have poured in from across the state.
The kids, his co-workers, all called him Deputy Bud. He spent 14 years as a deputy with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. His passion, the sheriff says, was working with students. So Bud Fong became a school resource officer. His most recent beat was at East Middle School in Biscoe. In a statement, Sheriff Chris Watkins says Deputy Fong had been suffering from allergies and sought outpatient care at First Health Moore Regional. He was later tested for coronavirus and went to the hospital on Monday. Last night, he says, the 43-year-old father of 5 passed away in the ICU. In his statement, Sheriff Watkins says Deputy Bud was known for his big smile, his sense of humor, and laughter. He was also known for wearing superhero costumes on campus. Last year, he became a DARE instructor, determined to steer kids away from drugs. Sheriff's Captain Andre Garner says he worked with and admired Deputy Fong since day one.
He loved children. We had a DARE officer retire, and Bud decided to take his place, and he decided that that was something he really loved.
Condolences have filled Facebook. Retired Deputy Jeff Branch wrote, "You were a class act, and I was glad to be your supervisor." Sheriff Watkins says, like all who wear the badge, he stood tall, but never too tall to whisper a comforting word to a kid, as he did so well. Brian Mims, WRAL News.
Before joining the sheriff's office, Fong was a police officer in the town of Candor. The Montgomery Herald newspaper is encouraging people there to place a candle in their windows in memory of Deputy Bud.
This global pandemic has put frontline healthcare workers at risk. Add to that a shortage of personal protective equipment, and hospitals are struggling to protect their staff. WR's Cullen Browder joins us live from Wake Med in Raleigh with some local complaints and the changes being made at that hospital. Cullen?
Well, Gerald, several nurses and their family members reached out to WRAL complaining that healthcare workers here at Wake Med were not allowed to wear masks unless they had direct contact with COVID-19 patients. Wake Med's policies on this have evolved over the past few weeks. In fact, they changed just today. Nurses on the floor. The urgent emails came into WRAL from Wake Med workers and family members. Quote, "My daughter's a nurse. They have been told not to wear any type of mask while on shift unless they are around a positive COVID-19 patient. What is going on outside of the hospitals with stay-at-home orders for most of the population is pointless if nurses are going to possibly transmit COVID-19 to all their patients and then drive home and infect their whole family."
And the level of fear and anxiety spread throughout the country is very real, and I appreciate that.
That said, Wake Med Chief Medical Officer Dr. Chris DiRienzo says the shortage of personal protective equipment across the country is also real.
Our supply chain was not built for this kind of a pandemic.
So to conserve masks in recent weeks for workers making direct contact with COVID patients, other patient providers went without. Wake Med has now reevaluated that situation, considering the rapid spread. Over the weekend, Dr. DiRienzo says all emergency room workers with patient contact were given some type of mask, and that same concept expands system-wide today.
At this point, we believe that now is the right thing to do.
Now, Cullen, we're focused on Wake Med's policy for staff wearing masks. What about other hospitals in the area?
Well, we actually received some complaints from healthcare workers at other hospitals as well, but we do know that UNC system and also Duke healthcare facilities have already eased their policies to allow any healthcare worker who has patient-to-patient contact would be allowed to wear a mask.
All right, Cullen Browder live at Wake Med. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark Boyle in the Live Center. Some brand new information about the USS Teddy Roosevelt. The U.S. Navy now saying that number 93 sailors testing positive for COVID-19. That's up higher than we were reporting first this morning. 2,700 people from that ship will disembark. That number also going up as well. Here's some video of that carrier right there. It is stationed in Guam. So right now the Navy is working to get those people, those sailors, off the ship as quickly as they can, but do it in a safe manner. Again, that number of confirmed sailors is at 93, but testing is still underway this afternoon. Back to you.
Thank you, Mark. UNC Health says it's receiving help from the community when it comes to personal protective equipment. After hearing the call, people have raided their own homes and teachers have searched their classrooms to donate masks, gowns, and gloves. So far, UNC Health says it has received nearly 850,000 PPE items. If you'd like to help, donations are being accepted at UNC Wellness Centers in Chapel Hill and Cary. COVID-19 has forced the court system to make adjustments to ensure justice is still being served. WRAL's Fayetteville reporter Gilbert Bays is live to give us an idea of what cases are being heard. Gilbert?
Hey, Deborah, you know, the court buildings in most counties, like this one back here, owned by the county, so they can shut them down if they want to. But the court system itself, well, that's run by the state. And so now we have a lot of judges, we have attorneys and court administrators inside the building, and they're trying to make sure that justice is safely carried out. Cumberland County has one of the largest judicial districts in the state. Courts are normally packed every day, but COVID-19 has most courtrooms emptied.
In our civil division, we're doing our domestic cases, only emergency hearings only in those. Domestic violence protective orders are being done. We're having the 10-day hearings, those emergency hearings.
District Attorney Billy West says his office is focusing on their in-custody cases. He's also trying to make sure the jail isn't packed with inmates.
We don't want the jail to be any more overcrowded than necessary. Those numbers are low right now. We think that could help. We don't want the virus to spread in the jail. If it is an out-of-custody case, if someone's not in jail, we're continuing those cases.
Michael Boos is a local attorney. He says even though the courts are continuing cases, folks who commit serious crimes will have due process and a timely day in court.
The cases, the detectives are still working them now. They're still going around interviewing people for break-ins, robberies, and stuff like that. So the files will continue on felonies to be worked on. It'll just mainly be misdemeanors.
The chief district court judge has this message.
The pandemic is real. Folks are getting sick. We see the information on the news daily. And it's important upon our citizens to understand that they do not have official business at the courthouse to please stay at home.
Now, as you might imagine, once things get back to normal and the court system gets back, the case is going to be backlogged and flooded. So Judge Pone says when you come to court, when you have to, bring all your paperwork, but Deborah, make sure you bring a ton of patience.
Absolutely. Gilbert, I'm wondering, is the crime rate up where you are? And if so, how are they handling the extra arrests?
Well, that is a good question, Deborah. And I've talked with the chief here, Gina Hawkins, chief of police, and also with Ennis Wright. They have noticed some robberies are up. You have people who are bored and doing things. All of those crimes are being processed, but if they're not a violent crime, the person is being processed through the court system, and then they'll come back and actually do their court time. But yes, there has been an uptick of crime around the area.
Gilbert Bays live in Fayetteville. Thanks, Gilbert.
We have a lot of data maps, charts, and information on WRAL.com, and we hope you've had a chance to check that out. We want now to take you inside that information to show you how we're keeping up with the data and what the statistics mean for you. WRAL investigative reporter and data journalist Tyler Dukes explains.
The first thing you see on our data page is this map of the state. You can zoom in on and click any county to see an updated number of positive COVID-19 tests. Scroll through to see when the cases were announced and any details we have on them. While the state updates its numbers once a day, a team of our reporters and producers are continually updating these numbers as we get official information from each county and the state. We use a collaborative Google document to populate the map in real time. So this really is going to be the latest data you can find about state numbers. Another graph shows the curve of cases in North Carolina. It's also updated in real time. If you hover over any point, you can see how many cumulative cases have been reported so far. We're also tracking the number of deaths from COVID-19. You can see how many people are hospitalized each day too, but it's important to note we're getting that stat once a day from the state. So once someone is discharged, they come off the list. One thing we don't have yet is the number of people in North Carolina who have recovered from COVID-19. DHHS isn't providing those numbers. We did ask the state about this, and they say they hope to publish those numbers soon. There's a lot of other data on this page and other places on WRAL.com, and I'll be helping to explain those each day.
We do have a lot of folks working to compile those numbers. And as part of our ongoing Here to Help community commitment, WRAL and the United Way are working together on a fundraising event tomorrow. It's time to help the helpers. The United Way's Rapid Response Fund provides immediate funding to many nonprofits experiencing an increased demand for critical resources such as food, childcare, and housing due to COVID-19. Help us by donating tomorrow directly to the Rapid Response Fund from 4:30 a.m. until 8 p.m. Still ahead, pregnant on the front lines. 4 ER nurses at UNC Rex, all pregnant and taking care of patients who need it the most. Hear the message they have for people in the Triangle coming up.
Plus, senior citizens are having difficulty getting groceries in rural parts of North Carolina. That story at 4:30.
And Duke students develop an app to help slow the spread of coronavirus. How the technology alerts you if you have been close to a person who tested positive. That story tonight at 5. Kat?
And it's been a cool start to the month of April. Highs today only in the 50s. Coming up, I'll take a closer look at the temperature and precipitation outlook for April.
You're watching WRAL News.
Small business loans could be approved the same day they are submitted under the $2 trillion coronavirus relief package. The Treasury Department and Small Business Administration expect the program to be up and running by February. The Paycheck Protection Program has $349 billion available. The loans will be fully forgiven as long as the money is used to keep employees on the payroll or pay interest on mortgages, rent, and utilities. The SBA is encouraging small businesses to apply for the loan soon because there is a funding cap. The Federal Bureau of Prisons is now requiring inmates to remain in their cells for 14 days as a measure to stop the spread of coronavirus. The Bureau says it's not a disciplinary move, but a containment measure. Inmates will still have access to mental health treatment and educational programs as much as possible. They will also have access to commissary, laundry, showers, and telephones.
WRAL's Catherine Brown is anchoring part of this newscast from home as we continue practicing social distancing here at WRAL. She joins us now live with more of the stories of the day. Catherine?
Hi, Gerald. Well, a Raleigh couple finally back home tonight after a 17-day odyssey aboard a cruise ship. Martha Rigney and her husband Ron Brand joined their fellow passengers. This was one of the nights applauding the celebrity cruise ship staff on one of their final nights at sea. The trip was supposed to be a 20th anniversary celebration, but of course all their plans changed when coronavirus fears gripped Chile. The Chilean government refused to allow the ship to dock at any of its ports, even though there were no confirmed cases of the virus on the ship. As you can see in this video, it seems that they made the best of their time, but once the couple finally was able to dock in San Diego this week, they quickly realized they were returning to a very different United States.
As a matter of fact, when we exited, they took our temperature and they said if you were above 100.4, that you would have a secondary screening. So they were being very, very careful. They had buses going straight from the ship to the airport, to the San Diego airport, and to LAX.
Well, Martha and Ron back home again safely tonight. They are not required to do so, but say they plan to self-quarantine in their Raleigh home for the next couple weeks. Well, the heroes in the fight against coronavirus are healthcare workers, those on the front lines, no question about it. And that is certainly the case at UNC Rex Hospital. Our Adam Owens joins us now live. And Adam, you spoke with a nurse who's going in every single day, and she is pregnant. I cannot imagine what that must be like for her and her family.
Yeah, I agree, Catherine, and it really puts into focus how important she knows that job is right now. We first noticed this as a picture that was posted on Facebook. It'll really tug at the heartstrings. It also, again, will embolden the appreciation that we have for these kinds of workers. Take a look. This photo posted online shows 4 ER nurses at UNC Rex Hospital. They are on the job, and all 4 are pregnant. They are holding signs that say, "Our babies come to work for you, you stay home for them." I talked with one of those nurses today. Her name is Courtney Hart. Do you have any concerns yourself, or?
You know, I do. I mean, I think that's natural as a mother.
She says management at the hospital is doing all they can to keep pregnant nurses from the sickest patients. But Hart is also aware the worst of the virus may still be ahead of them. That is why she stays on the job to support her coworkers.
We're all getting through this together and figuring it out day by day, literally day by day. It changes, but we are doing the best we can to support each other. I think it's definitely just second nature for nurses, especially ER nurses, to just back each other up.
And there are so many reasons this can't be easy. It's been hard to come by protective gear for a lot of these healthcare workers. Additionally, we do have a nursing shortage here in the state of North Carolina, but the UNC School of Nursing is doing all they can to try to turn some of those numbers around as best they can, and they're trying to do it in a hurry. We'll talk more about that on WRAL News at 5. Back to you.
All right, we'll check in with you then, Adam and Gerald and Deborah, seeing their commitment that those nurses are making and their sacrifice and just what they're going through really drives home the point that everyone else needs to be doing their part too.
Absolutely. And in New York City, we see retired healthcare workers coming back to help in the effort. I mean, and once you're dedicated to the profession, you're dedicated. And
yeah, I think like
everywhere.
she said, exactly. It's like it's in them. It's part of their makeup.
Yeah.
Nurses want to help people, and even more so in a crisis like this.
Yeah.
Awesome story.
Thanks, Kat.
All right, we're going to turn our attention to the weather now. We had another beautiful day today. It was kind of chilly, but not too bad.
It wasn't too bad outside. Some good sweater weather earlier this morning. Both Jazzy and I were in our sweaters today, but it's April now. We got through the month of March. It was a long month, I have to say, but I want to talk about what to expect for the month of April. These are our normal numbers for the beginning of the month and the end of the month. Our normal low kicks off in the 40s in early April with our normal high in the upper 60s. By April 30th, our normal low is back in the low 50s with a normal high of 76 degrees. In terms of rainfall for the month of April, 2.94 inches of rain is our average, so just under 3 inches. Now, comparing to those numbers you just saw, the Climate Prediction Center is forecasting above normal temperatures in North Carolina throughout the month of April. That would likely be temperatures above the low 70s when you average our normal high. In terms of precipitation, above normal precipitation is also in the forecast for the month of April. That's for most of the southeast. If you look off to the northwest, that's the area that could see below normal precipitation for the month of April. We are looking at a chilly start, even though the overall picture looks like it's going to be a warm April. That area of low pressure that we watched that brought the rain to the area yesterday, that has moved offshore, and it has really strengthened as it moved offshore. We have a stronger wind out of the north. It's been breezy today, and we've got some breezy conditions expected for tomorrow as well as that system sits offshore. Temperatures right now, 56 degrees. That was our forecast high in Raleigh today. 58 in Fayetteville, 54 in Rocky Mount. Our cool spot right now is 52 degrees in South Hill. We've stayed in the 50s all day. Our normal high, remember, 68, so well below normal for today. If you want to head out for a dog walk, though, it's not too bad outside. We're seeing breaks in the cloud cover. 56 degrees at 5 o'clock, 53 degrees by 7 o'clock, and we're going to warm right back up. So if you have to do anything outside and you can hold off until tomorrow, maybe you need to do some gardening, it's going to be a gorgeous day to do it tomorrow. 64 tomorrow, 68 by Friday. That's our normal high this time of year. We're back in the 70s for the weekend. For tonight's lows, it will be chilly though, so keep a jacket handy. We do have a couple chilly nights in the forecast in the days to come, even getting down into the upper 30s in Roxborough, South Hill. Durham could fall to 39 degrees tonight, as well as Rocky Mount. 41 the low in Fayetteville. Tomorrow, a chilly start in the morning, but look at all the sunshine icons. It is going to be sunny throughout the day tomorrow. Clear blue skies most of the day, really ending up being a beautiful day. And we're going to warm back into the 60s by the afternoon, hovering right around the upper 50s to lower 60s tomorrow if you want to eat lunch outside. 64 tomorrow, right back up to 70 by Saturday. But we have a couple chilly nights. Tomorrow morning, Friday morning, we fall into the upper 30s again. Saturday morning in the low 40s, but things start to warm back up at the end of the weekend into early next week. And by next week, high temperatures are back in the upper 70s to lower 80s. Back to you.
Oh, it looks like such perfect spring weather. Can't wait for that. Kat, thank you. Still ahead, access to groceries is difficult for some senior citizens who are afraid to leave the house. We'll show you how this is especially true in rural areas of North Carolina coming up at 4:30. And one of the most popular Game of Thrones stars is choosing a dozen people to have a virtual dinner with her. How you can win by donating to a good cause, coming up in What's Trending.
Time now for a look at what's trending. Catherine is joining me now from home to show you what's popular today online. Catherine?
Hey, Gerald. Well, we all want to do our part and do something good in these times of incredible challenges, right? Well, donate to a specific charity, and you may find yourself having dinner with a Game of Thrones star and the mother of dragons.
There's a thank you attached, and the thank you goes a little something like this. How would you feel about having dinner with me? Virtually. So, what we would do...
Virtually, but hey, it's still pretty cool. Emilia Clarke, famous for her role on the show as Daenerys Targaryen, she is raising money for a fund called Sane You to help patients recovering from a stroke or brain injury. The money will help them recover at home to free up space in hospitals for coronavirus patients. After you donate, you'll be entered to win a virtual dinner with Emilia herself, and 12 winners will be chosen.
Boy, that's cool. Even Mike Mays was perked up in the Weather Center when he heard that because he's a big Game of Thrones fan.
I bet he did.
And if you have dinner,
yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, and the food gets cold, the dragon can heat it back up. All right, Guy Fieri is teaming up. We all know him. He's very popular with the National Restaurant Association. He's going to team up with them to help workers who lost their jobs. He's the celebrity chef known for his TV show, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. He's leading a fundraiser to give back to restaurant workers affected by the pandemic. Fieri and the National Restaurant Association are hoping to raise $100 million in hopes of giving out $500 grants to laid-off workers. Service industry members can check their eligibility for the grant and begin the application process tomorrow. How's that?
Boy, in such challenging times when there's so much tough news coming, it is so nice to see all these celebrities coming out and doing really nice things and really inspiring everyone else.
Yeah, it is. And it's working. It's contagious. We're seeing more and more of it.
Yeah.
Child custody issues can be difficult to manage during the pandemic. Coming up, see how divorced families are working together to make this time easier on their children. Plus,
New York has thousands of coronavirus cases, but has the president cast doubt on New York's need for ventilators? PolitiFact sets the record straight. Coming up.
And as we had to break, a look at how the stock market performed today.
Coverage you can count on. This is WRAL News.
As grocery stores work to keep employees and shoppers safe during the pandemic, people in rural areas are concerned about the lack of grocery pickup or online services. WRAL's Aaron Thomas is live in Warren County with their call for safer shopping options. This is of big importance, Aaron.
Yeah, most definitely, Gerald. In fact, shoppers I spoke with say it's hard coming across those big box stores like Wegmans and Harris Teeter in areas like Warren County. I had the chance to speak with the elderly couple who says their life depends on having services like curbside delivery and online pickup. Grocery stores like Food Lion remain open. For people living in rural areas, these stores are their only option. I spoke with a 76-year-old Warren County man who says he's trying to look out for his health and safety. Curbside pickup and online delivery would prevent him and his wife from being in public. He says Food Lion locations in Norlena and Henderson don't offer these services.
It's going to be so much safer. I've had heart problems, actually arterial problems, atherosclerosis, and I've had a bypass.
A visit to Food Lion's website shows customers can order groceries online for pickup or delivery in areas like Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, Sanford, Southern Pines, and Richmond. And today we did hear from a Food Lion spokesperson. She tells me that Food Lion does offer online delivery as well as curbside pickup at more than 208 of its 1,000 stores. We're working to find out if they're going to be offering those services here in rural places like Warren County. Back to you.
More and more people are taking advantage of those services where they exist. Aaron Thomas, live in Warren County. Thank you.
I'm Mark Boyle in the Live Center. Butner Correctional now confirming more cases of inmates with COVID-19. Take a look at your screen. This is brand new information just into the newsroom within the past 5 minutes. They're now saying 9 inmates are testing positive at the Butner Correctional Facility for COVID-19. We were reporting a few, but now that number has increased close to a dozen. One staff member has tested positive there, and that number is expected to go up as we go through the next several weeks. They're working to contain this from spreading there at that facility. We'll let you know if these numbers change or if we get any more information on where perhaps those inmates were in that building that contracted it. Back to you.
Thank you, Mark. For the first time since World War II, the Wimbledon tennis tournament in England has been canceled. The Grand Slam tennis event was scheduled to happen at the end of June in London. Instead, the 134th edition of Wimbledon will now happen in the summer of 2021. It's the first major tennis tournament canceled due to the pandemic.
Across the country, hospitals say they need more ventilators to treat coronavirus patients. New York is the state hardest hit by this virus. So how many ventilators does the president think New York needs? That was the debate at Sunday's news conference. PolitiFact looked into it, and our Travis Fain has more.
On Sunday, a reporter for PBS stood up to ask a question about New York's need for ventilators. You can see a White House transcript of the interaction here. She quoted the president as saying he didn't think New York needed 30,000 of them. The president disputed that he said that. He said, quote, "I didn't say that." And he later suggested that the reporter was out to get him. So what's true? Has the president said that he thinks New York is asking for more ventilators than it needs? The PBS reporter cited Trump's interview with Sean Hannity on March 26. Here's what he said.
New York is a bigger deal, but it's going to go also. But I have a feeling that a lot of the numbers that are being said in some areas are just bigger than they're going to be. I don't believe you need 40,000 or 30,000 ventilators.
So Trump clearly cast doubt on New York's request, and the Truth-O-Meter rated his claim pants on fire. For more fact checks on the coronavirus response, go to WRAL.com/PolitiFact.
The White House is holding another briefing at 5 o'clock. You can watch that on WRAL2 and WRAL.com. We'll also bring you any updates from the Live Center here on WRAL.
Tonight on WRAL News at 7, for our special coronavirus coverage, in our efforts to spread facts, not fear, we introduce you to a nurse going to the front lines again. She did it during Hurricane Matthew 4 years ago, and now she's going to New York City. Kayla Cummins joins us live to discuss the challenges and what led to her decision to help those most in need. Gerald, David, and I will also be here to answer any other questions you have related to today's headlines, starting at 7 on WRAL.
Coming up, a Minnesota couple has recovered from coronavirus.
Just had a dry, persistent cough throughout the day, and that was different.
She sat down in her easy chair and said, "I feel like I got hit by a bus."
Still ahead, they explained their experience.
Also, you can give back to the people who are on the front lines aiding the community during the coronavirus pandemic, how you can help the helpers coming up.
And have you ever wondered how the stories we report come together? Check out our new WRAL podcast, How to Commit Journalism. We'll talk to the reporters and photographers who find the stories and get them to you. How to Commit Journalism launched today on our preferred podcast platform.
You're watching coverage you can count on with WRAL News.
A Minnesota couple has recovered from COVID-19. Neither is sure when or how they contracted it, but they're just happy to be alive. Reporter Lou Bruce has their story.
Just had a dry, persistent cough throughout the day, and that was different.
She sat down in her easy chair and said, "I feel like I got hit by a bus."
Annette Bramer thought she had the flu on March 11th until it didn't seem to go away. She was hospitalized for 2 days and tested positive for COVID-19. Then her husband Larry tested positive too. His symptoms were much milder, fatigue and lightheadedness, which he actually had before Annette got sick.
Our hope is that people really take serious the stay-at-home mandate, because this is why. I mean, you could be walking around and not even realize you've been sick.
Annette and Larry are in their late 50s, and they live in rural Martin County, which now has 23 confirmed cases of coronavirus and 2 deaths, proof that rural areas are getting hit. The Bramers don't know where they got it, they have not traveled, and their eyes were open about how easily it can spread.
The Department of Health asked me to put together a list of people I'd been in contact with. The list was well over 100 people.
The Bramers say they are 2 of 6 people at their church who've been infected. Living in a small community, they say people recognized Larry and called the sheriff after seeing him at a gas station after he recovered.
People weren't trying to be mean. I mean, they were truly concerned.
Yeah, but it is kind of eye-opening how we're kind of viewed right now. You kind of feel like the leper,
The Bramers have a message to the thousands who eventually will get COVID-19.
Most people will survive this, so we just can't be fearful. We just need to be
smart.
Be smart.
Quite a message. It might take a while for some people to return to concerts and professional sports games after the pandemic is over. Researchers polled more than 1,000 people. 44% of the people said they would go to fewer events. 63% said health and safety will be a larger concern than ever before. Nearly half of the respondents said going to a big public event will scare them for a long time.
We certainly understand that. Coming up, staying at home can be trickier in divorced families with visitation orders related to the children.
Right now, we're both working together. I think if one of us found out that we got exposed, I think there probably would be at least a conversation of, hey, how do you want to handle this?
How families and parents are working through custody issues during the stay-at-home orders. Kat?
And coronavirus seems to be impacting almost all parts of our lives, but there are signs that it could also impact our weather forecasts. I'll explain coming up.
And details on the impact of coronavirus here in North Carolina are changing every day, even by the hour. We are providing daily podcast updates. Just search Coronavirus North Carolina News Brief wherever you get your podcasts.
Good afternoon. I'm David Crabtree. Coming up at the top of the hour, fascinating story using technology to stop the spread.
Duke students have developed an app that they believe could help stop the spread of the coronavirus. Coming up, we talk with the founders about how it works.
And with so many people working from home, Zoom has become a popular and free way to teleconference, the security issues that come along with it, and what the company is doing to correct the problems. Deb, those stories and much more beginning at 5 o'clock.
We will see you then. Thanks, David. Families are trying to keep life as routine as possible for young children. This can be especially tricky in divorced families with custody and visitation orders. WRAL's Amanda Lamb spoke to families and attorneys dealing with this issue and tells us how it's working.
All routine custody cases here at the Wake County Courthouse have been postponed. Judges are only hearing true emergencies. So attorneys say estranged parents need to work together during this time.
12-year-old Audrey and 7-year-old Nora are still bouncing back and forth between both parents, thanks to collaboration and jobs that allow them to work from home.
Right now, we're both working together. I think if one of us found out that we got exposed, I think there probably would be at least a conversation of, hey, how do you want to handle this?
Ironically, we're getting more calls than ever about new issues. This is unprecedented territory.
Attorney Alice Stubbs says the stay-at-home orders allow for parents to comply with child visitation.
I'm advising my clients, unless there's something unusual, they need to work with the co-parent and make sure that those visits occur.
Stubbs says parents need to put differences aside.
Some parents are doing a great job working through this. Others not quite as well.
She says be flexible on drop-off times and locations and put plans in writing, like emails.
We're also advising people to make arrangements in advance in case a child or a parent gets infected.
We've got to do what we got to do to keep them safe. And yeah, absolutely, working together is the only way to get it done.
For the first time in my lifetime, there really is not a remedy other than to work together. So people need to do that.
So for now, custody orders should remain the same unless a parent has been outside of the country or works outside the home and there are concerns about exposure. But even then, this is not the place to come to get help. Attorneys say you need to work it out. Amanda Lamb, WRAL News, Raleigh.
Because all routine custody hearings have been postponed, we can expect a big backlog of cases when the family courts do reopen. For now, attorneys are trying to mediate these issues with their clients through online meetings.
WRAL's Catherine Brown is anchoring from her home right now as we continue to practice social distancing here at WRAL as best we can. Let's go back to her now. Catherine?
Well, Gerald, as the coronavirus pandemic continues to cause major airlines to ground their fleets, there are some concerns that could actually impact the way that people and experts are forecasting the weather. As airplanes fly, technology on board measures and calculates wind speeds, atmospheric pressures, and temperatures. That data is used by the National Weather Service. Now, as more planes are grounded to slow the spread of the virus, it could have some negative effects on producing forecasts.
Well, it'll probably cause the forecast to be slightly less skillful.
Doesn't mean we're not able to forecast. It just means we might be a little less certain about the outcomes on any particular storm.
One thing it's important to keep in mind, 95% of our observations come from weather satellites, and those are not going away. So as long as we have the weather satellites, we'll still be able to produce very useful forecasts.
Well, this data impacts everyone. Fortunately, we here at WRAL have a team of trained meteorologists to still put together accurate forecasts. And among the members of that team, meteorologist Kat Campbell joining us now. And Kat, we heard of them talking about satellites, but how much more difficult does this make your job?
Well, it's something that we've been keeping an eye on in the past couple of weeks. And I'm going to show you this graph. It's really scary looking, but don't worry, you don't have to read it. I'm going to walk you through it. So what this is showing you is the 5-day forecast from the European model, the American model, and the Canadian model. The higher these points are, the more accurate the forecast is, and the lower the dots are, the less accurate the forecast is. This goes all the way back to August. So the first thing I want to point out here is that you see a lot of dips in accuracy. This is something that we're used to. We see different types of weather patterns that cause sometimes the models to become less accurate. So this is nothing new for us. We just have to watch it closely. What is interesting about this is notice, though, we have 3 different colors representing the 3 different models. On average, it's 1, maybe 2 of the colors, a couple of the models that see the accuracy dip. But as we head into late March, we have seen the accuracy of all 3 of these global models going down very quickly. It's something that we're going to be watching in the coming days, but it's not all bad news. I do want to stress that we have many ways that we get our weather data, and because we know this, and because we're watching these accuracy levels, we're really looking into the other factors more and weighting them more than we typically would. So one of the things that we've got to watch is the satellite data. As they were telling you before, we're keeping a very close eye on our satellite data. Radar data still looks good. None of that's being impacted by this. We've got ground observations. And one of the things that the National Weather Service has looked into, and there's been a little talk of, is potentially launching more weather balloons to account for the lost data from the aircrafts. We do still have some aircraft flying, of course, and the shipping aircrafts are flying. So we've seen about a 65% drop in aircraft data, but we haven't lost all of the data. We're going to keep this in mind moving forward, but given today's forecast, things have not changed. It was an accurate forecast today. High temperatures were climbing into the mid to upper 50s, and that's exactly what we had in the forecast. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. We're aware of the issue, and it's something that we're going to be accounting for in the future. 52 right now in South Hill. It is a cool evening. 56 in Durham as well. 58 degrees in Fayetteville. Pretty mild outside this evening. But these temperatures well below normal for this time of year, about 10 to 12 degrees below normal. One of the reasons we've stayed cool today is the cloud cover, but we also have winds out of the north, fairly breezy there in Wilson. We do have some breaks in the clouds, though, and that's making for a pretty nice evening. We should get to see the sunset for many of us tonight. Some of the cloud cover still on the low side, though, so that's something that we're going to be watching. But if you need to do anything outside, hold off tonight. Tomorrow is going to be the day to do it. If you've got yard work, gardening to do, we have sunshine in the forecast tomorrow. And despite a chilly start tomorrow morning, we are right back into the low to mid 60s for our highs tomorrow afternoon. No rain in the forecast tomorrow. Tonight, though, it will get chilly pretty quickly. We're going to continue to see skies clear, but temperatures quickly fall into the 40s tonight, and we should bottom out in the low 40s tomorrow morning. A few upper 30s possible as well. Tomorrow's highs quickly climb, though, thanks to the sunshine. Just have the jacket early in the day. You should be able to lose the jacket by the afternoon. 63 in Roxborough, 64 in Raleigh, 64 in Clinton tomorrow. And looking ahead over the next 7 days, a nice warm-up is in store for the weekend. We're back in the mid-70s by Sunday. Next week, a milder pattern returns with low-end rain chances of about 20 to 30%. Coming up at 5 o'clock, meteorologist Mike Mays is going to take a closer look at this warming trend, and he'll talk about the reason behind our temperature change. Back to you.
Boy, some great weather on the way for the next few days. Thank you, Kat. WRAL is helping the helpers with a virtual fundraiser. We show you how Triangle Family Services is helping the community and how they would benefit from your donations just ahead.
And zoos are facing hardships to feed their animals with no money coming in from guests. We'll tell you how hunters are helping them out.
This is WRAL News.
The stay-at-home orders are affecting the food supply at some zoos. The Sierra Safari Zoo in Reno, Nevada says it's having a harder time keeping the animals fed. It relies on visitor income for all of its critical upkeep, including feeding the animals. Since the zoo is not an essential business, they close their doors. All of the money they have is going toward feeding the animals, and some employees are still helping without pay. Right now, they are getting extra meat from hunters.
Tomorrow, WRAL is partnering with the United Way to help raise money for its Rapid Relief Fund. It benefits nonprofits that are directly helping those affected by the pandemic, like Triangle Family Services. As WRAL's Mandy Mitchell reports, they're helping families with everything from paying their bills to dealing with anxiety.
Triangle Family Services is an organization based in Raleigh that's been helping families since 1937.
Normally, Triangle Family Services would be seeing 300 to 400 families in our facility on Western Boulevard every day. We have 3 service areas and 12 programs.
Like most people, the therapists at TFS are now working remotely to provide counseling. Triangle Family Services works with families on everything from domestic violence issues to financial planning. And the staff is doing what it can right now to make sure people are getting the connections they need.
Families are just grateful to be able to continue having somebody working with them, especially during the crisis. And what we're seeing now is so many of our families have actually increased needs, their anxiety, their stress, the trauma.
They are continuing to provide service to about 400 Triangle families, and they expect the numbers of those in need to rise as the outbreak continues. Mandy Mitchell, WRAL News, Raleigh.
Now remember, you can help the helpers tomorrow by donating to a fund that helps nonprofits. WRAL will have a virtual phone bank and online fundraiser all day Thursday from 4:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Search Here to Help on our website.
Next at 5, Duke students created an app that could help slow the spread of coronavirus. How it tells you if you've been in close contact with someone who has the virus. Coming up.
And there is a shortage of nurses in North Carolina. How one school is working to try and close that gap.